Hello and welcome back to Cultural Capital, the show where we pick our favourite things from London's amazing arts and culture. I'm Nancy Durrant, I'm the Evening Standard's arts editor, slightly having to pinch myself. It's been a very long time since my diary looked like this much of a bomb site, and I love it. This month sees the return of one of the West End's biggest hits, Matilda the Musical. We went to find out how they're getting on with bringing the cleverest little girl in the school back on stage. Then we're off to St Pancras to talk to the choreographer Shobana Jeyasingh, who's bringing her stunning dance work, TooMortal, to London next weekend. Our Thing of the Week at the Royal Institution takes us back to the creation of the first electric motor, and I'll be reviewing the long-awaited adaptation of another West End favourite, Everybody's Talking About Jamie. First though, look out, Miss Trunchbull's back and she's been practising her shot put over the holidays.
Oh, it's just amazing to be back with everyone in the rehearsal room, on the stage. At some points it felt like this moment was never going to come, so I'm so thrilled to be back.
I think it gives you a renewed appreciation, not that we didn't appreciate it before, but you know, we all feel very lucky to be in this line of work and to be part of this show. But I think, you know, the break and not having that outlet has meant that, you know, being back has given a renewed energy and a new love for it, I suppose.
The children have adapted better to being away and then coming back, I think, than the adults. It's been a bit more dramatic for the adults, but we're settling back in.
I just think they were so excited to come back to the show. You know, they've been rehearsing their lines on their own, they've been practicing the dances, so they were so ready to come back. It's just been such a joy to be in a room where you know everyone wants to be there so much and they love what we do.
We have 3 different teams of kids who make up the classroom, as it were, and then there are 4 different Matildas. So from the adults' perspective, it's great because obviously we have different actors that we're working opposite and they all bring something slightly different. That keeps you on your toes. Also, it gives you a chance to rehearse and re-rehearse.
Playing the librarian opposite Matilda affords me the luxury of being able to watch all the little actresses, you know, and all of their talents and how they understand the material and the script. And I sit there and I marvel.
They inspire us, definitely, when they bring the energy they do. It sort of makes you sit up and go, well, there's no excuses.
When I grow up is when the majority of the cast are on stage and singing together. At that moment, I think for that first performance is going to be really special. The song is about remembering that joy and that hope that you have when you're a kid and, you know, you think anything's possible.
I think it's a perfect story. I really do. I think it's you know, triumph in the face of adversity. And I think that is definitely reflecting life at the moment, so I think it's a perfect show in that sense, and that's what I hope people take away from it. You know, just a drive to carry on and win.
Matilda the Musical is playing now at the Cambridge Theatre in Covent Garden. Now, in 2012, Shobana Jeyasingh's seminal dance work, TooMortal, premiered at the Venice Biennale. Since then, it's been performed at historic churches around the world, exploring themes of life and death, the sea and the soul. Now it returns to London for just 4 performances over 2 days, so we snuck into rehearsals to talk to her and one of her dancers.
TooMortal is, you know, set in a church and it deals with the ideas of mortality. It feels absolutely brilliant that we've been able to bring TooMortal back, especially this year. I've always been interested in the idea of conflict and of pushing back, and so one of the stories that kind of inspired me actually comes from the Old Testament, and it's a story where Jacob fights with God. You know, I just love this idea of mortal and immortal, but their confrontation or their meeting is like a battle. And in fact, in the story, Actually, neither of them wins. Historic churches in particular, architecturally, and the way they sort of encapsulate people's culture and memory. It's a building full of memories, really.
Yeah, so we begin in the pews, which is quite a surprise for the audience. At least many times I've heard when we first appear, they're not expecting that. So you might hear a gasp or somebody's sudden intake of breath.
Obviously, there are lots of different places that one could put dancers in. I mean, I suppose a sensible place would be where they could move around, which would be in front of the pews or maybe the aisles. But actually what fascinated me were the box pews, and the pew itself could be seen in so many different ways. It looks like a coffin sometimes, it could look like a crib. It's very rich in metaphor.
So we do move from pew to the next, and we also come back. We disappear using that image of the battle, kind of how you're applying pressure with the wood, and because it doesn't really give. So you gotta kind of create that. So it's a challenge.
Churches traditionally have been very male-dominated. It talks of power. I mean, big historic churches, they're very powerful institutions, and women haven't had access to that power very easily. So that's one reason I just knew when I went into this church or any church, I knew that the dancers had to be female. It's a change, so you change the kind of mindset of the audience. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do, just to kind of subvert and question the sort of hierarchies of a typical church.
TooMortal is at St Pancras Church on Friday the 24th and Saturday the 25th of September. Next up, it's Thing of the Week.
This object is celebrating its 200th anniversary. Created on the 3rd and 4th of September 1821 and developed by Michael Faraday here at the Royal Institution, it is the first time that mechanical movement was generated from electricity. He had created the world's first electric motor. In 1820, Hans Christian Ørsted at Copenhagen University announced his discovery that the flow of an electric current through a wire produced a magnetic field around the wire. Michael Faraday devised his own experiment, and he created this Mercury Bath. He suspended a copper wire within a glass vessel that would hold a bar magnet, and then he filled the vessel with mercury and connected all of it to a Cruikshank battery. When the flow of the electricity went through, the magnetic field around the magnet interacted with the copper wire and caused the needle to turn, therefore generating the first ever motor. Michael Faraday wrote up his experimentation in his scientific notebook, which we have here in the collection, and he draws the electric motor for the first time down at the bottom of the page. He also writes, "Very satisfactory, but must make more sensible apparatus." This object is a unique survival of the last 200 years. It is a scientific experiment that still has an impact on people's lives today and encapsulates that kind of working through a theory and seeing the outcome of that theory and how it can impact on our lives.
Hallelujah! Musical theatre fans rejoice. Today, the long-awaited movie version of the smash hits show Everybody's Talking About Jamie lands on Prime Video. I'd suggest watching it on the biggest telly you can find, because those song and dance numbers definitely deserve a big screen.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you give a warm welcome for the soon-to-be legendary...
Jamie.
Is everybody talking about me?
The real-life story of a gay Sheffield teenager who harbours ambitions to be a drag queen and wear a dress to his high school prom. This is a big-hearted, solid addition to the plucky underdog Brit film canon. Cheerfully adheres to the tradition of undercutting nearly every situation with the indignity and prosaic nature of everyday life, whether it's squeezing uncomfortably into a flash car or being surrounded by cleaners as you try to outline your dreams in the school canteen. The film is anchored by a very sweet performance from newcomer Max Harwood, and her strong turns from the ever excellent Sarah Lancashire as his mum, Margaret, and enjoyably brassy Shobana Jeyasingh as her best mate, Ray, and Sharon Horgan does a grand job in the extremely unrewarding role of an unimaginative careers teacher who thinks she's helping by giving the kids a reality check. Cheers for that, crush my dreams, why don't you? There's also a tender performance from Richard E. Grant as Jamie's drag mentor, Loco Chanel, in which, despite moments of necessary flamboyance and a slightly vertiginous accent, he manages to stay just on the right side of Withnail. To be perfectly honest, it could have done with a bit more characterisation and a finessing of the script before it hit the screen without the singing and dancing happening right in front of you. The broader brushstrokes of the stage musical are rather more visible, but after a slightly clunky start, the warmth of the whole thing will thaw all but the most dedicated musical theatre refuseniks. Everybody's Talking About Jamie is on Amazon Prime Video now and in selected Curzon cinemas. Thanks so much for watching Cultural Capital. As ever, give us a like, don't forget to subscribe and share us on social, and we'll be back next week. See you then.